Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so grateful for you spending your evening, afternoon, whatever you are with us. Mina and I have been so excited to share with you some tips and tricks about how to level up and gain visibility. As we know, getting into the job market can be challenging. Building your brand can also be a challenge. How do you do it? How do you get started? Well, Mina is about to share with you all the tips and tricks and how to best do it in front of everyone. So since you control it, I'll let you go next. Thank you, Mina. Just so we have a little bit of the agenda today, we're going to be talking about the speakers. We're going to introduce ourselves. It's going to be real quick. Then we're going to talk about leveling up. How do you cultivate your own brand? The importance of your voice, especially Latinx voice in 2020. How do you increase visibility? A quick tips that you can get from there. And then closing with questions. I would like to add that as you go along, if there's questions that pop up, please put them on the chat. I'm going to be going through them and I'll be sharing them with Mina as we present the presentation to you guys. So a quick intro about myself. My name is Eliana. I'm a proud immigrant from Venezuela who loves to learn new skills. You can always catch me trying to figure out a new thing that I don't understand, like investing. And I love bringing new Latinx people into tech. It is something that I take very passionately to heart. I really think we're going to be a better world when there's more of us in tech. I'm also very, very passionate about the ocean. Recently got scuba dive certified last December, before COVID in Thailand. And that was just one of the most wonderful experiences that I had so far. I love my family. And I love shoes. You can always find me with bright, shiny heels anywhere that I am in the world. Next up, we're going to present Mina. Can you change the slide? I don't know. There we go. Mina is a first-gen college grad professional. She's skilled at leveraging her brand to gain visibility and opportunities, hence why she's giving us a session today. And she's passionate about raising Latinx voices, contributing to racial equality in tech. We're excited to learn from you, Mina. Take us off.
Thank you so much, Elena, for getting us warmed up. This lady has a lot of energy, and I'm really feeding off of it. So I'm so glad that she's on with me. And for my intro, I am absolutely having my Selena moment right now when she's in the interview tent with all the microphones, and she's like, "Me siento muy excited." I'm so happy to be here. As Elena mentioned, I have many roles. And I got a lot of those +1 roles through my personal brand. People are starting to tap me to get involved in things. I'm a technologist. I'm a senior analyst at Avanade. So I specialize in data science and visualization. I am our national ERG lead for our Latinx community at Avanade. And I also lead our Midwest Corporate Citizenship Championship. So I really have my hands in everything. And I also wanted to share with you all that I'm really passionate about this subject of professional development and branding. This month, I'll actually be launching a website. I've got it on screen there. It's called Mina at Work. That is me and everything that I do. I'm always at work. It's going to be a coaching side hustle where I have discussions about how to dominate at work and what it means to do that as a woman of color. So check it out to learn more. So, all right, let's get started on our talk today. So we're going to get right into personal brand. And when we talk about personal brand, that is really what you have to offer and what you're known for. It's how people perceive you, but it's not a one-size-fits-all mold, nor should it be. We are Latino, for one. We also work in tech. We have a lot more freedom to be ourselves. We don't work in finance. We're not suits. We are weird. We are different. Throw some comments in the chat if you feel that. But how do we package that uniqueness and weirdness that both, number one, truly reflects who we are and what we can do, and two, positions us for success? Let's talk about that. Okay, so now let's head to Mentimeter to kind of get warmed up. Go to menti.com and enter the code 302752. And we're going to talk about what goes into your personal brand in 2020. If you've never used Mentimeter before, it's just a website that collates responses to questions live. So I'm going to switch up my screen.
Thank you, Brittany, for all your help in the chat. I appreciate it.
So head to menti.com, enter this code 302752, either in another window or even on your cell phone. And these answers are going to start to come up. What goes into your personal brand in 2020 in particular too? So far, we've got passions, personality, yourself, equity. What else do you think goes into that? Okay, great. We've got headstrong, adaptability, determination, creative. Really, our passions are standing out in authenticity, creative, unique, values, your skills, accomplishments, social justice. So it's really kind of clear who we have on the line here. We are authentic. We're very passionate, creative, resilient. Absolutely. Great. And just watch how this is changing and getting even bigger. We're scrappy. I love that one. I would call myself scrappy, both figuratively and literally. Inspiration, headstrong. We get stuff done. We've got grit. We hustle. Yeah, we've got that work hard, play hard mentality. You get what you earn. We work hard. The Mexican culture I see pop up. Mom popped up.
Yes, mamas.
Yes, the moms. Laughing, empathy, determined. Okay, great. Now, let me get back to my place. In fact, all of these elements do contribute to your personal brand. It's not really one thing or another, but rather how they connect. And a lot of times when we talk about having a strong brand, what we really mean is having a clear brand. So let's take a look at a woman who has a very strong brand, AOC, AKA my queen, my idol, who I worship. What is her brand? Type your ideas in and they will start to show up in just a moment. What do you think when you see this image of AOC or your image of her in your head? What's her brand? What does she purposely promote?
Make sure you're on the website and put in those words in that I'm seeing on the chat. That way we can see the bubble popped up.
Yep, and if you've never used this before, what I'm sharing, it's a website called menti.com. So you head there and just enter this code and it'll take you right here.
I'll be sharing that on the chat again.
Okay.
I'm loving everything that I'm seeing.
This is what you guys think of AOC. Red looks like leadership, accountability, love, Latina, strength, fearless, empowerment, social justice, style, relatability. She's smart, empathetic, dedicated, and passionate. She's Latina, confident, young. I feel that too. Strong, brave, power, intelligence, unstoppable. Woman of color, very put together. A socialist, tough, forward, and unafraid. Knowledgeable, uncompromising in her values. Absolutely, and I'm gonna leave these up. All of these are really spot on though. And one of the reasons I chose her, because it's so easy to describe her and why people like her is they know who she is. She is authentically herself and no one else. And that is really intentional in everything she does. We see it in how she shows up. We know what to expect from her style, her lip, but her style is even her own. She is a woman working in government and we know how she is going to be dressed and look, even though that's not the typical for her peers around her. How she carries herself. She is confident, not afraid to be vulnerable. Like a lot of you mentioned, she's not afraid. And how she fights for her constituents and society, we know that we can count on her to speak up about what she cares about. And she's very good at playing to her audience. You know, if you go to her Instagram, She's going to have those one-on-one face videos of talking to you because you are her priority. Okay. So thank you for joining me in this interactive session. I think these are really fun to get us going.
And this is what we want to do with your brand. We want people to know your name and immediately think of things that describe who you are. So Mina's going to be sharing all her tricks on how to do this.
Absolutely. And thank you all for waiting as I got this back up. Okay, so now we have a great example and we talked about what goes into your brand. So now let's start work on defining your unique brand. So I'll ask you this simple question. Who are you? Do you have a clear brand? Can you articulate it? If you can, throw it in the chat. I do a lot of interview coaching, and while people can rock those technical questions, they are ready to go. This one typically trips them up when the interviewer asks, just tell me about yourself. Who are you? So Eliana, who are you? What's your brand? Kick us off.
Absolutely. As my work wife put it, accountability is my love language. It is the way I communicate to others. I want to know what I'm responsible for. I want to know what you're responsible for. So when the project is due, there's no questions. It is the way I express care. It is the way that I express my work. So there's no misunderstanding. And anyone that works with me in any projects knows that whatever I said I'm going to do, it's going to be done by the time that it's given. So accountability is my strongest trait in the work. Also building trust. And I think it comes because I have such a high level of accountability. You trust that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do.
I love
What's
that.
your brand, Mina?
Yeah, just by hearing that, I mean, everyone on the call that doesn't know you knows you a lot better. You know, we can know what it might be like to work with you. So here's mine. My name is Mina. I am Native and I am Latina. I value integrity, diversity, and giving back. People know me as an advocate for women and people of color, and I always have my hand in a new project to serve my community. Whether I'm at brunch or a conference, you'll usually find me in a monochrome suit paired with sneakers or heels. It really depends. So I just want to emphasize that your brand doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It should really reflect who you are. And we don't have to make ourselves fit something that doesn't.
I'm loving all the brands you guys are putting on the chat. This is great.
Oh, shouts them out. What are they?
So let's see. Cassandra said, I'm a program manager and designer dedicated to developing strategies, programs that drive measurable social change and expand opportunities. That's awesome. Clear to the point. I know who you are based on what you told me.
Awesome.
I'm a hard worker. I'm kind to people around me, and I truly care about people. That's amazing. Thank you, Claudia, for sharing. I get stuff done, just and ethical, trustworthy, and likable. Thank you, Clarina.
I love that. I love how they're all so different, yet the same. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll provide some tips on landing on your brand if maybe you aren't ready to articulate it through the Japanese concept called Ikigai. This is super popular. You can Google it on your own and you'll find it. And it really emphasizes that you are more than just your work. It helps define your purpose as the intersection of your passion, mission, vocation, and profession. This is something you can work on today in a break or write it out, but your brand will really start to come through if you write these out and ask yourself, what are you good at? What do you love? What does the world need and what can you be paid for? And that is really the intersection of those is your brand. So try that out if you're struggling. And if anyone wants to ever work on that further, I love talking about this. You can message me and I can help you out.
Can people in the chat let us know if you heard of this before? Thank you for Francis for saying that you understand the concept and you've seen it before.
Yeah, this one is really popular. And I think because usually we think of our brand as either internal or external, but what I'm trying to get at is more of a all the time brand. So we don't have to be one person at home, which a lot of us are, I know, myself included, one person at home and one person at work, but finding this mesh of how they can all work together.
Absolutely. This comes to the point of always showing 100% who you are. You know, there's, like Mina said, there's different sides to who I am at home than who I am at work, but all those things are connected at the end. So that is your brand, everything that you are every single day, regardless of where you're located.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue for my next slide. And I really want to talk about the importance of showing up fully in 2020. And for this audience, showing up Latino in 2020 and why that's important. You've probably heard the phrase, show up fully. It's kind of a buzzword phrase right now. I hear it all the time. Why is that? What does it really even mean? And what's all the focus on it? Orgs are so focused on us showing up fully and authentically because when we don't, it exhausts us. And there's a lot of research behind that. It's a big contributor to burnout because when we compartmentalize huge aspects of who we are, it takes so much more effort to just show up to work, much less be excellent at work. Now, I realize that although this is a very safe space and we're all comfortable showing up Latino here, that doesn't just translate to all of our teams and workplaces, but I want to encourage you that it's really important to try. And by showing up, you are contributing to the whole community. It is a way to give back as well. You know, it is a way to live your goals of giving back to the Latino community by showing up, being your full self, even if it's a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Thank you, Mia, Christelle, and Brittany for sharing your thoughts about how it can be exhausting. It can feel daring to show up who you are. And especially when you're the only Latina in the room. I think almost everyone here, a lot of the times, is always the only Latina in the room. And it's hard to show up and say, this is who I am. And, you know, you can't separate my culture from my being. So it's just by being there in person, you're doing a lot already.
Yeah, for me, even the small step of when I show up on camera, how Latino do I look? Like, do I look right now how I will look tonight with my friends or with my family? Or am I really changing that to be on a Zoom screen with my clients during the day? And what are the implications of that? And how can I maybe start to be my full self? Okay, so next and last topic is, we talked about how to get a brand and what it means, but now let's talk about how to leverage it, how we can use it to position ourselves as an authority in your role or in your community by becoming more visible. I am especially excited to speak on this topic because as a community, we do tend to struggle with visibility. I think it really stems from how we're brought up and how we are taught to work. I think many of us here are taught to just work hard, work, and keep your heads down. Throw a +1 in the chat if you can relate. We are hardworking people, we get shit done, and we're taught to let our work speak for itself. Always just be grateful to have a job and don't do anything to rock the boat. Don't draw attention to yourself. Just be careful, always be careful. That, I think, is a big part of our culture and what we're taught. Eliana, did you hear these phrases growing up or have you seen it in practice? What are your thoughts?
Every day, including today. When I told my mom I was going to speak in a panel, she said, well, make sure you do your hair, make sure you do your makeup, make sure people look nice, make sure that you are polite, make sure you welcome everyone. And I had to stop her and tell her, Mom, yes, I will do all that because that's who I am, but not because I have to. You know, being humble, being good, it's part of the culture, but nobody will know how good my work is if I stay quiet. So speaking up and showing up and telling people I have accomplished these things and I am honored and proud of the work that I've done does not take away from my accomplishment. And that's something that's really hard, especially for my parents. When I tell them I'm really good at something, they tell me, well, make sure you just keep your head down. I was like, oh, why? Who's going to give me a raise if my head is down? Like, I need that money too.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I see this all the time too from my peers and in my own mind. People say I prefer to stay behind the scenes. You know, I'm quiet. I don't need the credit. I'm humble. And that is a way of thinking that's ingrained in many of us. And I just want to recognize that and let you know that, you're not alone. We all, well, not we all, but a lot of us were raised that way, and it's just in us. But if you feel that way, you may be very hesitant to speak up, to promote yourself, and to take on those highly visible roles or projects that aren't directly tied to your day-to-day work. You might feel embarrassed, but I want you to ask yourself, like, is it embarrassing? If you work your butt off and you achieve something, is it really weird to share that? Is it weird to talk about it, or is that in your head? When one of your colleagues shares a personal win on LinkedIn, they're totally patting themselves on the back. How do you see that? Do you think they're showing off, or how would you react?
I honor them and I respect them and I celebrate them. I am one, as everyone who knows me personally, I am super active on LinkedIn. I am one of the first persons to like it, to comment, to share, to support you, because we need to honor the work that we've done. We as a culture has come a far way from where we used to be. And we as individuals have done a lot to, break barriers that existed for us before. So celebrating that work is important because it also helps others see themselves in you. To find another customer success manager like myself, who's a Latina and who's proud and glad to be there, it's important for me to see that value. For you, Mina, to see other data scientists who are, just as proud to do the work they do and, honor the work they've done by supporting each other is important for a healthy work culture.
Absolutely. You had that right in the head, and that you never know who you're inspiring. And if you really struggle with the confidence to share, you struggle with propping yourself up, switch up your mindset and say, if someone else posted this, if someone else said this, would I cheer them on? And if the answer is yes, that's a pretty safe bet to just go for it. So the next time you're feeling really nervous or kind of holding back, switch it up and say, if my work wife posted this, I would love it. I would cheer her on. Think of it that way. So now, finally, let's review some actions to take based on your comfort level, which is really different for everyone, that will make you more visible at work. Visibility is how seen, or better yet, how known you are at work, at school, or in an industry. Increasing your visibility is the best way to gain new opportunities, and the better you are at it, the more you come to mind and the more you're tapped to do things, especially in 2020 when things are changing every minute. I know a lot of us are currently job searching, and if we aren't, we could be tomorrow. Ask yourself, how well positioned are you today if you lost your job? I was let go early in my career, and I was not in any way set up for success. I thought I was just going to go on coasting in that role for years to come. So that's something that I really have on my mind all the time, is how connected am I with my network? How much do people know me? Do they know what I'm doing? Do they know that I'm good at my job outside of just the people I work with?
Yeah, I have a question from the chat that I think is really good, Mina.
Okay.
Can we talk about how to balance this with showing up authentically? A lot of those in our community feel that being showy or putting attention on themselves is counterculture for them. How do we balance that?
Absolutely. I think you have to do what's right for you and what's right for your team, because all of these tips are good, but if you're not comfortable and it's going to make you, feel anxious for the next week that you shared too much, don't do it too. It's not a one size fits all. So here, go ahead.
So go ahead, finish.
So here are some tips. The first one is about showing up fully. It's showing up digitally, even though we're not at work. It still takes work. Be present, turn on your camera, let people see you. Think about how much effort you used to put in when you would go into the office to build those connections, to just touch in with people. You can still ask your colleagues to get a coffee, or your boss or someone you admire to get a coffee, even though we're going to do it via Zoom. That's still something you can do. The next one is share your passions. When someone asks you how your weekend was and what you did, answer them honestly. A lot of times I feel like I tend to just be like, oh, I was fine. Well, like I can't really relate to this person, so they won't really get me, so I'm not going to answer. But, you know, let them know, actually, I did this, I volunteered with this organization, or I took this class, or I had a really bad personal weekend and I need some space. You know, share your passions and let people know you a little bit. You know, do you love anime? Share what you love, and it'll be much easier to build connections with people and let people know you. The next one is raise your hand. Really jump at leadership roles. Don't be afraid. That's a great place to take risks, even if it means, you know, talking to your boss and say, I need 10% of my day to go towards this +1 role. That will be better for your career than just doing your day-to-day. Try and take on anything that's offered to you and figure out how to do it later. The next one is continue learning. I know a lot of us on here are learners because we're at a conference, but if you're not in a seminar, if you haven't taken a workshop class in a while, sign up. Check out the various online platforms we've got. I know I am a graduate of General Assembly. I really like them. When you're a professional, learning is also networking. It's a great way to expand your network in a genuine way and meet new people. Be social. Share. Let people know what you're up to. Promote yourself and your colleagues as well as the Latino community. You know, coming to this, sharing the posts. You know, after this conference, say, I was at this conference this week and this quote really stuck out to me, or these people really inspired me. That's a really easy thing to do and very appropriate post-conference to share. And finally is share your expertise. Really hone those skills, especially in tech. It's good to be a go-to person, and you do that by excelling at your work. Hone in on your skills and become that subject matter expert. You know, all of this extra stuff to build your brand is just that, it's extra, but being excellent at your job is the best way to, of course, move ahead the fastest.
Yeah. Thank you, Mina. I think a couple of things to add that I personally do just to show other examples is build a network of people who are willing to celebrate you as well. As we were talking earlier, I have my work wife, who just recently left me. Sorry, Jen. But she did a really good job of elevating wins for me, just to help support the work that I was doing. So find a partner in your work environment or in your professional network that can help you figure out how to share your news for you, because sometimes it can be a lot for you to take on. So having somebody to help you share it can be helpful. And it kind of demystifies the whole like, oh my God, I don't know what to say about this. Somebody else saying it for you might be better than you saying it yourself.
Yes, that's so true. And it's kind of that safety net. You know, if you have those 1 or 2 people say, I'm going to post something, like, can you get on and hype me up? That's normal. Do it. If that's what you need, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And letting people, listen, like you said, letting people in can be hard. But it's the only thing that's gonna, you know, as a community, we can only rise together. So trusting somebody and figuring it out who can be your partner in crime, it's really gonna go a long way. And thank you, David. That's absolutely true. On the flip side, it's always fun to elevate others. We all want to celebrate our partners and our people that, you know, are doing good in our lives. Why not give them a shout out?
Yeah, well, that is our content for today. So if you want to send questions, we have plenty of time to discuss and take questions.
Yeah. Does anyone want to come on and share questions with us? Let me see. Nicholas says, should we build our brand before we're able to bring value to others, or while continuing to establish the value we can bring?
While you continue to establish the value, because your personal brand is always evolving. You know, your brand when you were in college, think of it like when you were just entering the workforce, is very different now. It's different when you are an individual contributor versus when you're a manager. So people also, everyone experiences that, so they know that your brand is constantly evolving. It's not something that you should just turn on and turn off. You know, turn it on when you're about to be on a job search. If you're continuously working at it, that will serve you the best.
Mina, how often should we update our headshot?
Oh, I like this question. I updated mine at work because I felt that it looked a little too pale and I wanted to add some melanin purposely. But I think you should update it whenever you think your look has changed. You can update it often. I'd say once a year would be the absolute most frequent, but whenever you feel good about it.
Plus, you have a great headshot. Somebody right at the beginning of the chat was asking, where'd you get that?
Fierce.
Yes, 100%.
For me, my headshot is very purposeful. I look young, as you can see. I purposely kind of alter my appearance to appear older. I am 26 years old, but I sometimes look 16 years old, and that's hard to be taken seriously in business. So my headshot is purposely kind of looking away from the camera. I'm not smiling, and my look that I'm trying to evoke is power, and that's a purposeful thing that I did, and I love it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Where do you recommend to advertise your personal brand? Is it on professional networks, or do you need a personal website, blog, Twitter?
I say, Renan, do what is comfortable for you. Where do you spend your time naturally? Where is your network? You know, LinkedIn, of course, is a great place, but a lot of people really enjoy, you know, especially like industry content on sites like Twitter or Reddit or GitHub. You know, having a GitHub portfolio is a great thing to have in tech, but having a personal website is great too. So it's really your comfort level. As long as you're trying to put yourself out there, that's the best. If you want to keep some social media private though and personal, that's really okay too. Don't feel that you have to have all things turned on at once. If you want to just share on LinkedIn, then just share on LinkedIn.
Thank you. What are the pros and cons of building up your brand across social? Is that the one that I just read? No, I think it's two different. What are the pros and cons of building up your brand across social media, such as LinkedIn or on a personal website? It's similar to the previous question.
Yeah, I think the pro is that the more people see, the more visible you're going to be. For me, if I go on Facebook, it's my hometown community. If I go on LinkedIn, it's my professional peers. And if I go on Instagram, it's my hype ladies. So if you post on all of those, the pro is you are really going to reach different people because you probably have different communities on each. And the cons is just, if you don't enjoy that work, it doesn't come natural to you, it might be really hard to maintain that. You might post a bunch for a month and then kind of not for a while. So that's why you should really do what feels right for you.
How do you let your network know you're doing well?
How do you let them know? Well, you can certainly share any updates, job updates, if you went to a conference, anything professionally development related, but it's also okay to share, you know, a family photo and say, you know, my family's doing well. On LinkedIn, it's okay to have that as long as it's really clean, to share a little bit of that personal level as well to let people know you're doing well. You know, praise, if you're a mom and you have a high school senior graduating, you know, it's okay to share those kind of updates too. We don't have to just share when we have a new job.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your website that you built. I'm going to put it in the chat for those to check it out.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration behind that?
My inspiration is I'm a first gen everything and I need answers. I need to know, like, what should I do if people are discriminating against me at work as a woman of color? How do I negotiate not only a salary, but equity? No one can teach me that. And when I look online for professional development resources, I find that either they're really geared towards students, they're geared towards, if it's women, it's white women, or it's for very senior level executives. There's not really a resource for that in the middle, women who are killing it and want to keep moving up the ladder, but also in a context of women of color. I want to provide that level of advice. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is kind of, share articles, share thoughts, share conversations I'm having, when people, I'm talking to my peers about microaggressions. How do you respond to those and keep your job that you value very much, but not let it slide? That's what I want the website to be about.
It's amazing. I just put it in the chat for everyone that wants to check it out. We have a few more minutes left. I don't know if there's any last words. Oh, I just got a couple more questions. Who are some Latinx professionals whose online presence you have looked up to?
Ooh, I like that. For me, I really look up to the leaders of Latinas in Tech. I saw one of the leaders pop into this session, Techqueria, and also AnitaB.org, who hosts Grace Hopper. That's really who I look to get involved in things. And I'll go to those sites specifically to go to events, and then you find people that way. It's a great way to like meet those people, then stalk them on LinkedIn and bridge those connections. But I really do seek out those communities, not just people in tech, but Latinos in tech specifically.
And how do you reach out to your network with an ask when you unfortunately don't have much to give them in return?
I think that that's part of being vulnerable, Jasmine. If you are saying, hey, I got laid off last week, I am looking, this is what I can offer, and I just need some help. Network, help me out, introduce me to someone. You're just asking for help at that point, and that is really okay. And that is what your network should do for you. And ask yourself, Jasmine, if you saw that again from someone else, wouldn't you want to help them? Would you care that it was just an ask without something in return? I think you would help them. Yeah.
And some simple things that you can do in return is just like their skills on LinkedIn, provide a review.
Yeah.
Or, just a nice thank you note can go a long way of helping others when you never know what kind of day they were having. So there's always a way to give back.
Very true.
Yeah. Well, I think we have 4 minutes left. Any pending last words that you want to share with your audience?
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming to this session. I think that talking about professional development and personal brand sometimes can be really overwhelming. And it's just kind of something we kind of put off because it seems too hard. So I thank you for joining and talking to me about this today.
Yeah, and same. Thank you for everyone that joined and participated in our icebreaker at the beginning. That was really fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, and Mina, thank you so much for showing up, for inspiring other women to show up as well, and men and everyone that wants to, build their own brand. I always say this on my group at work, like the only thing you can take from one job to the next is your brand and your network. So
yes.
If you do anything, build that for yourself, because you can't take intellectual property. Don't do that. but you can take what you learn with your networks, and you can take those skills. So build that and let the world know.
I love that. And my favorite quote that's really relevant to this topic is, if you want a bigger job, make your own job bigger, right? Take on more things. So
absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and we are so honored that you decided to spend the evening with us. We look forward to seeing you around.
Yes, connect with us, and thank you so much.